Welcome back to the roundtable, ladies and gentlemen. It seems like every day there's a new gaming project promising to be the next big thing, begging for your attention, time, and money. But rarely have these projects delivered. So if you found it difficult to understand which projects are legit and worth your attention, then you're in the right place. Because we've taken much of what we've learned over the last year and formalized it into serious grading criteria that will allow us to systematize the evaluation of new projects and help people like you separate the signal from the noise. So let's get into it.
Cut it out, Frost. Cut it out, Frost.
We've broken down our system into 5 categories that each contain multiple subcategories that we'll touch on. They are entertainment value, the economy, the technical infrastructure, the credibility of the team, and total addressable market. We consider all of these quite important, but we've ordered it this way because we believe that the 4 initial categories have major influence on the last one, total addressable market. But before we get there, let's start from the top with entertainment value. So why start here? Well, if a gaming ecosystem is going to be sustainable, people have to want to play it. Mind-blowing, I know. First and foremost, we're looking for fun gameplay, a satisfying loop that creates a sticky user base, one that rewards time invested over the long term. And while there's definitely subjectivity to this, a game that satisfies these conditions should bring a lot of players. And step number 1 is to draw in this player base, because while you can think of the token economy as trying to capture all the value that the players produce within the economy, the strongest net in the world isn't going to create the fish for you or pull fish in that aren't there. There needs to be a compelling reason to come and to stay, the bait and the hook, if you will. In addition to the gameplay, we're looking for graphics and art style with high production value that is unique and memorable. Lastly, when it comes to the replay value, we want to consider the depth of the universe and the lore. So some questions worth asking here are, is it extensible and flexible? As in, is it the type of world that can be added onto for years with seemingly infinite possibilities? Does it invite community interaction in telling the story? Like, are there APIs of sorts that will make it easy for creative minds within the community to add value? And another one is, does the genre have mass appeal? In other words, does it share elements with well-established, compelling narratives that people already enjoy, such as warfare, fantasy, crime, or sci-fi genres? That's certainly not an exhaustive list, and it's not required to be in one of these, but it's a good starting point. All right, so back to that net we talked about. It might be useful to think of the tokens in the economy as nodes in the fishing net. If there are enough nodes and they're organized properly, then the economy should be able to capture a large amount of the value that flows into the ecosystem. If you picture a net with only 2 or even 3 nodes, you'd probably question its efficacy. And until proven otherwise, we tend to look at single or dual token economies with similar skepticism. Now, we cannot be 100% certain about what the proper organization of the token economy is. This is widely debated, and we can only imagine the meta of what is optimal will continually evolve in ways that are difficult to predict, but it's worth going over a few key elements that we look for. First, a limited supply primary token, or governance token in many cases. This gives owners the assurance that they will not be diluted in perpetuity and gives the token a chance to maintain the scarcity and value necessary to underpin the larger economy. Next, we're looking for a very limited supply Genesis NFT that has economic links with that primary token. And what we mean by this is a scarce NFT that has utility that's linked to the primary token in such a way that it provides a natural means to balance the non-fungible and fungible tokens within the ecosystem such that they support each other and feed off of each other's value. For example, a character NFT that can be sent on a mission to collect the token. The token can then be used to upgrade the character, which will allow them to get more of the token later. So as one goes up in value, so does the other. For a more practical real life example, think about the value of a gold mine and how the value of that gold mine will actually go up if the value of gold goes up. Next, we want to see a liquidity token that can actually increase much more in supply, because while most of us think of inflation as bad, an in-game economy should have a token that can be inflated in order to maintain accessibility of the economy to new players and provide grease to the exchanging of goods. Given the ecosystem must be able to handle a wide range of economic throughput, there should be both inflationary and deflationary dials that can be adjusted in order to handle rapid growth in the player base as well as plateaus without collapsing. And lastly, we'd like to see a variety of NFTs that have some sort of utility throughout the ecosystem that provide in-game returns. This will create an opportunity cost and a gravitational effect on other tokens within the ecosystem. And this can be done through a variety of things, such as particular weapons that help defeat bosses that drop rarer loot, or maybe a factory that intakes certain commodities and outputs other more rare ones. It's important that a game has an open, consumption-based economy with proper sinks for the inflationary assets within the system to act as a counterweight to the increasing supply. This can come in many forms, like consuming one token to enable the creation of others. It could be taxes on specific transactions that burn the token, or maybe the tokens get absorbed into NFTs in order to enhance them. And with all this considered, at the end of the day, the economy should remain relatively balanced in the long term, with built-in mechanisms for natural wealth redistribution to avoid the economic rigidity that results from extreme inequality. Because as we've seen in in-game economies where the only owners of assets are whales, this does not last long or serve many users. We also like to consider the governance, because an ecosystem capable of creating such value should ideally be governed in a fair and sustainable way that mitigates risk and balances the competing interests that will naturally develop in such a system. So yeah, we are looking for games where the players who have skin in the game can also have a say in the game. But keep in mind, if a project is going to hand over control of the protocol to the community, that community better be well educated. Lastly, when considering the economy, if we zoom out a bit, we're also looking at the revenue model of the company. What are the ramps they're building to the market that will give more reason and more opportunities for new money to enter the system? The protocol should have a plan on how to fund its own maintenance and improvement. This isn't as much about the in-game economy as it is about the decisions the developers are making regarding how to invest their capital efficiently. But these should be considerations. So let's talk about cross-chain, because it's important that a game is available to users across a variety of blockchains, and ideally various economic elements, like the ones we talked about earlier, will exist on different chains to optimize for their specific use case. For example, we like primary assets that are on Ethereum because of the reliability and security of the network, as well as a large market that is familiar with it due to Ether's wide distribution. But for the liquidity tokens and non-Genesis NFTs that need to support the bulk of transactions within the ecosystem, a layer 2 or more optimized chain is not only desirable, but likely necessary. The hardware requirements to run a game or an environment should ideally be as lenient as possible for its intended market. This way, you don't exclude users based on lack of access to the necessary hardware. Browser and mobile games are great for reaching a large global market. Now, of course, we don't discount games that have high hardware requirements, but it's always important to note the trade-offs. You'll probably get sick of hearing us bang on about user-generated content, but if the game is written such that there are creator tools within the ecosystem to facilitate value creation from the community and third-party developers, that is a major increase to the ceiling of the ecosystem, so we love to see that. In addition to the universe and lore that we spoke about earlier, we're looking for a tech suite that has modularity and extensibility. We want the ecosystem and the game to be able to evolve and grow for many years. And the technical infrastructure of the project must be able to support this and scale to millions of daily active users. While it's the fourth category we're touching on here, the credibility of the humans behind the project is one of the first elements we actually look at, mostly because it's not really super complicated. The leaders of the project team should have previous success within the gaming industry. Why is this so important? Because a proven track record of success is one of the best predictors of success. And while this might seem obvious, it's a lesson that has rapidly been learned by many over the last year as projects crop up with big hopes and dreams and extensive roadmaps, but zero ability to execute. Ideas are cheap, execution is expensive. If the project is backed with investment from top-tier funds and doesn't need to turn to the community for funding, this is very desirable. It's always a good idea to know who is providing the fuel behind the development of the product and what their goals are, and if they've funded successful projects in the past. Additionally, we look for key partnerships with influencers and projects that have something to add to the ecosystem. In a space this new and evolving this quickly, it's impossible for one project or company to do everything themselves. So strategic partnerships with key players that can fill specific gaps are welcome and encouraged. A good example of this is Mobland's work with Wormhole in implementing their cross-chain goals. As mentioned, we saved this one for last because many of the other categories contribute to it, and that is a total addressable market, or TAM. As an example, the TAM for Spotify is something like all music listeners with access to an internet-connected device. So that's pretty good. What we want to understand is the number of users who fall into the target market and can reasonably access the ecosystem. Of course, the entertainment value, the art, the gameplay, the technical requirements, the economic stability, and the team's ability to deliver and execute will all play a role in onboarding the market into the product. Next, we want to look at what type of user the game caters to. Is there a place for the high-skill grinder, as well as the lore-driven casual player, and also the money-minded filthy capitalist? Millions of players will fall into each category, and many will fall into multiple. And the game should have something worthwhile for many types of players in order to create and sustain a vibrant ecosystem. A high skill floor first-person shooter will not be attractive to certain users, and that's okay, but it's important to consider the size of the market a project is catering to and to understand that skill, capital, and time requirements will exclude certain participants. The project should have a large onboarding funnel and a plan to drive demand through it and convert the would-be users to actual users. If a user can sign in with their existing social media account, that is mint because you're reducing the number of steps they have to take to participate in your ecosystem. So that about covers it, folks. Those are the 5 high-level categories on which we are evaluating gaming projects and some of the considerations within each. What we just introduced you to is the actual criteria we are grading them on to derive an overall score that can help us weight the opportunity cost of dedicating efforts to participating in the ecosystem and helping grow it. In future videos, we will take what we discuss here and apply it specifically to certain projects that you've probably heard of and get more into the practical details. So stay tuned and subscribe if that's the kind of content you find valuable. Thanks for watching, and until next time, good luck, have fun.